to meet one another and to share their activities of research and writing and publications, of course. And Borneo Undergraduate Academic Forum is the first forum in Borneo for undergraduate students. And in BUAF, they will interact one another not only with other fellow students, but also with scholars from around the world. And of course, they can also learn from them the theories, the practice, the experience of doing research, and of course, the knowledge that they share in the forum. And the forum is in the form of conference where students also present their papers, and they also learn from other scholars, other students who also present their papers. So yes, the forum is the forum for learning. And not only learning of research project publication, but also they can also build up networking. Why? Because they meet one another, they meet scholars from around the world, they will interact, they will get information, and they will mingle, you know? They will make contacts with them. And of course, by doing that, they will have broader networking as they need to have it, of course, for their future. Last but not least, the students will also prepare their career in the future. As we know, this work is not for us. Today, yes, this work is for us. But in the future, this work is for them. So we are preparing the future leaders, where they can learn how to deal with issues of many things in the world, including the pandemic of COVID-19 that we are facing today. And of course, in the conference also we'll talk about how pandemic affect our lives in this current time and also in the future of our life. Well, this year, in 2021, we will have the Borneo Undergraduate Academic Forum for the 5th in Pontianak, the capital city of West Kalimantan, Indonesia. Pontianak, yes, Pontianak. So this campus, IAIN Pontianak, is located in Pontianak, in the capital city of West Kalimantan. And some students will come and join here, but important to know, this is limited. Not all students who join the conference will come together here, but some of them will join the conference online, virtually. So some students will present their papers here in Pontianak, but some of them will also present their paper from their home country. Well, yes, and also some of the scholars, invited scholars and keynote speakers, they will share their knowledge, their research projects, their expertise online from their home countries. We will have someone from America, someone from Egypt, someone from Singapore, someone from Philippines, from Thailand, from Brunei, from Malaysia, and from Middle East, yeah? Well, yes. So we'll see. We will learn together in this forum, Borneo Undergraduate Academic Forum. And this year in Pontianak, the theme is People and Science in the COVID-19 Pandemic Outbreak. So we will talk about how this pandemic of COVID-19 affect our life and how people respond to this COVID-19 pandemic through their knowledge, their science. As science is growing and people, mankind, produces science because they think they also build up their skills and they have science. The science is developing, so we'll see how science is interacting with this COVID-19 pandemic through human beings. So everyone, I invite you all to come and join us at Borneo Undergraduate Academic Forum 2021 in Pontianak and virtually. In the theme, People and Science in the COVID-19 Pandemic Outbreak. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Penting bagi sivitas akademika perguruan tinggi, khususnya mahasiswa, sebagai sel inti generasi bangsa, mahasiswa harus mampu mengorbitkan dirinya dalam kualifikasi yang pantas dalam berilmu pengetahuan, supaya dapat berpartisipasi dalam mewujudkan dan mengembangkan ilmu pengetahuan. Mahasiswa adalah harapan bangsa Indonesia untuk juga dapat berpartisipasi dalam mendalami dan mewujudkan moderasi beragama. Juga mahasiswa adalah generasi yang diharapkan untuk turut mewujudkan peradaban dunia yang dalam nuansa rahmatan lil alamin. Selamat datang di Borneo Undergraduate Academic Forum BUAF. Untuk para tim, para peserta dan rombongan, semoga BUAF tahun 2021 di IAIN Pontianak ini membawa berkah dan keselamatan untuk bangsa dan negara kita Indonesia.
I am Firdaus Ahmad, Vice Rector for Academic Affairs and Institutional Development at IAIN Pontianak. I would like to welcome all delegates and participants of Borneo Undergraduate Academic Forum 2021. I hope your presence will strengthen the ties of friendship to develop knowledge.
حكومية بونتيانا كلمنطقة الغربية، ونتمنى أن يكون هذا اللقاء تقوية للعلاقة بيننا وبين المساهمة في تقوية العلوم وتعزيز الاعتدال في الدين والأمة، وأيضا في تطوير الحضارة العالمية بروح الإسلام، يعني رحمة للعالمين. وأيضا نرجو من سماحتكم أن تكونوا في هذه الجامعة مرصودين وأنتم تحت أعيننا.
Borneo Undergraduate Academic Forum ke-5 di IAIN.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sesi berikutnya kita telah kedatangan tamu dari jauh ya, dari Yemen dan sekarang sedang tinggal di Belgium. Baik. Assalamualaikum Brother Shoqi Al-Maktari. Kita akan mulai dengan sesi berikutnya. Teman-teman silahkan boleh join di Zoom lagi ya. Dan kami sampaikan kepada semuanya, termasuk yang di Zoom, di sini di dalam ruang Zoom sudah ada juga para dosen IAIN Pontianak ya. Dan ada juga Pak WR1, Bapak Dr. Firdaus Ahmad MHum. Kita sapa ini Pak Warek 1. Mungkin sambil sibuk ya Pak Warek 1, silakan. Baik, kita sapa pembentang kita pada pagi ini. Assalamualaikum, Brother Shoqi Al-Maktari. Can you hear my voice?
Assalamualaikum. Yes.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Oh, you looks great, brother.
Thank you.
Like someone.
It's been ages.
Alhamdulillah. So, good morning in Belgium. So, here is still morning, but about to get noon, actually. All right, so
it's 6:30 here.
6:30 in the morning. Wow, this is very early for you, huh? Alhamdulillah. So now in this forum we have students from East Kalimantan, and student from East Kalimantan is from University of Islamic University, State Islamic University of Samarinda, and then students from South Kalimantan from State Islamic University of Antasari Banjarmasin, and then students from Central Kalimantan from State Islamic Institute of Palangkaraya, Central Kalimantan. And then students from Pontianak, from West Kalimantan, where I stay here, where the BUAF is located, from State University of IAIN Pontianak. And then we also have students from Malaysia joining us here at Zoom, and then students from Thailand and students from Brunei Darussalam. And then we also have some lecturers from IAIN Pontianak, and also the speaker from Malaysia, Dr. Sarifah Nur Aida binti Wan Hasan from Institut Aminuddin Baki, Cawangan, Sarawak, Malaysia. And well, today we will have a very good topic with Brother Shoqi Al-Maktari. Brother Shoqi Al-Maktari is a senior officer, a senior Fulbrighter as well. And she now works with Church for Common Ground, responsible for the region of Middle East. But now he is in Belgium, doing his project in Belgium. Of course, he's now busy with activities of his responsibilities. Well, not to take more time from Brother Shoqi, now we welcome Brother Shoqi Al-Maktari. So please, the time is yours, Brother Shoqi.
Thank you very much. And I hope everybody is hearing me okay. I've been giving the instruction to go slowly. So just to reintroduce myself. So my name is Shoqi Maktari. I'm originally from Yemen. I'm covering the Middle East. And my role is as a senior complex sensitivity advisor is to help our different projects with implementing within the Middle East to be more aware about the conflict dynamics in these areas and how they deal with those. So how they can implement our programmings, which mostly are peace building. So I'm working with Search for Common Ground, and Search for Common Ground is the largest peace building organization globally, with offices around 40 countries. So my role is to try to understand better the conflict dynamics in the countries where we operate, and then advise the different projects on how they can program accordingly and how can they adapt their programming to achieve a bigger peace impact. So the topic I would like to talk about is the politicalization of Islam in globally, but zooming in the Middle East and zooming on with some of the countries. So the politicalization of Islam and religion at large. So it's the same phenomena. It's not only unique to Islam, but it's a phenomena that happens across different religions. I remember when I was doing my master's, we had one class about conflict and religions. And the professor at that time explained it in a way that religion is a very cheap explosive. The authorities, the conflict parties easily use religion to benefit and empower their position. And because religion is emotional, deeply embedded, a very strong identity that people adhere to, it's easy to rally people around it. It's easy to trigger people through using religion. So in Islam, and if you're looking for the Middle East, this starts a long time ago, as early as after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the Muslims starts to discuss about governance, who has the rights to rule and who has not the right to rule. And from that moment on, religion has been in and out used as a way to rally and to gain support from different segments of the community. And that went through the Islamic history. Although at the core of that, although there is a different interpretation of Islam regarding the different schools and not interpretation, and here we are not talking about a difference interpretation when it comes to the practices of Islam, but the governance aspect of Islam, or the, what you call it, there is one term that always comes up, which is the legitimacy, which is who has the legal, and in the case of religion, it's translated into who has the divine, like the holy right, the God mandated right to govern. And in that sense, Islam also in this case very unique, because the Islam text, different from other religions, mainstream religions, goes deep in every part of life. So Islam does not present itself as a religion of worship only. Islam is a way of life. So Islam goes into explaining every aspect of the Muslim life, from how to pray to how to govern. And as such, then it becomes really embedded even within the governance. And for those who study religion, you will see that like follow for example, in the Western Christianity, when religion was also part of governance, and until they get to a stage where they talk about separation between religion and governance. So, story short, in the recent history, what we are seeing as a manifestation of that, we are seeing religion used in a number of ways. One is to justify like the right to rule. So certain rulers would use religion as a way to justify that they have the right to actually be the right ruler for a certain nation. It's used to empower and certain practice of the government. So certain policies, certain aspect of the governance is also empowered by religion, like religion interpretation is used to feed into a certain practices, including like human rights violations sometimes, including certain practices in the government regarding, even in some cases, we've seen it increasing prices. In some contexts, we've seen that religion is used, like encouraging people to practice more sabr and to follow the lead of the leaders without any questioning. It used to, in many cases, to kind of like criminalize, like on the other side. For example, in the case of the war in Yemen, religion is used as a way to actually identify or define the other side of the conflict as non-believer, non-Muslim. And that's justify their killing or justify the war against them. And this goes in both directions. It also, religion is also used to provide an excuse and justify practices that the government is doing. So when you look at this, religion is utilized for, I wouldn't say, I mean, although the term is politicalization, but even the politics here, we are not talking about like a national level, political level, but we are talking about a process by which religion is used from the bottom, even at the very local level, up to the national level governance. And a lot of reasons that's actually allows this, and which actually as a result put religion at risk, because religion in its core is a connector. And in peace building, when we talk about the term connectors, and there is the other side is divider, a connector is something that actually brings people together, that's people share collectively, and they can relate to as something that they have common with the other. A divider, on the other hand, is something that actually divide us. So something that we disagree on, something we have different view about. And as a result, it's become something that make me different from you. I have my unique view, I have my unique stand, you have your different views. And with that, when you look for like the Middle East have lots of things in common when you look at it from like language, culture, and at the core, religion. So this goes even like much stronger when you compare like the Islamic world vis-a-vis the Middle East, where the Islamic world has this religion as it at the core connector. The Middle East has different layers of connectors. But because of this politicalization, the religion in some cases, and unfortunately more often now, become a divider. So the way that people interpret, the way that people see their version of the religion or how they see Islam, they see it as a way to clash rather than a way to kind of like present a different view. When you look at like the different schools of thought, they have lots of in common and overlap. And interestingly enough, they exist in almost the same time zone, time in history. But we didn't have clashes between them. I mean, there was discussion, there was different views and so on, but they never get to the extent where there is actually violence clashes across this different interpretation. And because it was a matter of intellectual people with vast knowledge, kind of like thinking about what could a verse mean or how Islam actually addresses a certain problem. And normally there is different ways to do it. But that kind of thinking has changed at least in my assumptions, across the 17th centuries and on, and then later on in the 19th, where there was this kind of like strong utilization of Islam as a political tool. And because of that, the governing bodies require a very linear, one-sided interpretation of religion, which tells the story that we are right and everybody else wrong. We have the right and everybody doesn't have the right. Our way is right and everybody else's way is wrong. Although when you look at the different schools, it just brings different understanding. Like even when it comes to the way that we practice salah, there is like certain variation, but it doesn't bring the fact that we have to fight over it. So in many of the recent conflict in the Middle East, you see religion play as a motivator, a justifier for violence, for killing the others. We've seen this in the relationship between the nations. We've seen it in Iraq, we've seen it in Yemen, we've seen it in Syria, we're seeing it in Libya, where religion is used as a tool by the state, by the different violence group, to justify their rights to be a ruler and their rights to actually discriminate against the other, and even their right to kill the other. Now, how to reverse that? And the magic word is to take religion away from governance or from governance leader or politician, is to have enough number of intellectual, like religion scholars, who are able to articulate a common vision for religion, and also to articulate an independent view of religion. One of the key aspects that's helped people, I call it, to counter-argue. I remember I had a discussion with people from Afghanistan at one point of time regarding like Islam and how Islam has been used there. And one of the key things this one person told me is that we don't understand Islam well enough. We don't read the text well enough to be able to counter-argue those who claim to understand it. So if we have enough people within the societies who actually has an understanding, and there is and now with all the technologies, if we have access to good interpretations, good scholars who actually have a strong opinion vis-a-vis how Islam is supposed to be, or Islam is understood in the right way, rather than the extreme versions, or the time where Islam is kind of like, or the certain verses interpreted or into serving the right of the governor. They can counter-argue that. So the more ability of the people, the more we had religious scholars who are able to kind of like unpack and explain and clarify those texts, the less the ability of governments and politicians to actually use the religion for their own benefit against the benefits of the people. So I don't want to go on and on, and I would like to leave more space for questions. So I will stop here with just a summary. One is religion has a fantastic connector ability. It can actually bring people together, not even within Islam, but even across different religions. There has been a lot of misuse of religion by politicians in order to empower themselves and justify what they do. And the way to actually resolve that is to have enough scholars just like you who understand religion and can counter-argue this kind of like mispractices. Thank you very much. Back to you, Z. Zainuddin.
Thank you so much, Brother Shoqi Al-Maktari. This is very interesting how Islam has been used as a tool in the Middle East to justify actions of the government and some other groups of Muslims. Even I highlight here, even to justify to kill the others. Oh, this is very strong actually, yes. Well, again, thank you so much. So we will invite comments and questions. So from someone from Zoom, okay, if you you have some questions, then you can just text your questions in the chat box. And yeah, I have one text here actually, Ibrahim. Yeah. Oh yes, we have brother Dr. Harnan Topik from Sarawak, from Malaysia. Okay. Jadi gini, so I will translate a little bit to the students, brother. Jadi Pak Prof Shoqi menyampaikan bahwa di Middle East itu, Timur Tengah itu, Islam itu dipolitisir ya. Karena apa? Karena memang Middle East itu kan tempatnya lahirnya Islam di sana dan banyak konflik di sana. Nah, Shoqi Al-Maktari itu seorang konsultan konflik resolution ya. Jadi, nah agama itu digunakan karena apa? Karena memang banyak yang juga yang tidak mengerti Islam secara penuh dan mereka tidak mengartikulasikan secara baik, sehingga apa? Sehingga juga pemerintah juga menggunakan agama itu untuk menjadi alasan ya untuk membenarkan kebijakan-kebijakan itu atas nama agama. Karena agama itu apa? Agama, language, culture, religion itu semuanya menjadi penting dalam kehidupan manusia karena memang ada hal-hal yang jadi bagian dari jalan hidup manusia itu. Oke, silakan ada yang mau bertanya? Kita kasih hadiah. Silakan. Ya. Oke, one student from East Kalimantan will pose a question to you, Brother Shoqi. Oke, come. Silakan. Applause to Brother Shoqi and the students.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Your name first.
Okay, let me introduce myself first. My name is Nurni Lamsari. I'm from English Education Department, Sultan Haji Muhammad Idris, State Islamic University of Samarinda. So now my question is, how the government minimizes the religious politicians in the Middle Eastern? Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Give applause. Did you get the questions, brother?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Then you might directly respond to the question, please.
Okay. So yeah, this is another interesting dynamic. So as I said, in at the core of my point was that in many cases, governments actually utilize religion as their own tool. So they try to enforce their own interpretation of the text, their own utilize their ability to kind of like use religion as one of their conduit of communication with their like citizens. Now, interesting enough, because of that need, they need to kind of like they try to, I wouldn't say mainstream, but they try to have one channel or like one body or one group that's actually have their an interpretation of religion, like it's within the different, like for example, I lived in Egypt, I lived in a couple of the countries in the Middle East, and normally by default in these countries you see that there is different scholars who have like follow even different schools of thoughts, and they have their own different interpretation or different explanation of the like the Islamic history and so on. But in what we are seeing in the recent years, that's the government try to kind of like force one vision, one way that's they accept, and they would like everybody to accept as the right way to kind of like understand and speak religion. And like, for example, in Egypt with Al-Azhar, and any other voices are not giving the rights to access media. They are not giving the rights, and sometimes they are even harassed. Now, as I said, I mean, there is in other cases where there is more voices that's actually counter-argue, or they are not in line with the government. What you see then, the government is trying to kind of like take those out, harass, bring them into one of their like institutions, like official institution, under which then they have to go according to the script, so they cannot actually go against the government or bring an interpretation that collide or contradict what the government is mandating. And in other contexts, we've seen in other countries, like in Gulf countries, religion is kind of like put on the side, like it's almost people trying to kind of like avoid talking about it. They don't give in space. There is no encouragement even for Islamic education, with the notion that Islamic education could actually lead to like fundamentalism or like extremism and so on. And the key reason behind that is that they see in religion and kind of risk for their like legitimacy. And I said legitimacy is a key word that we need always to think about when we think about politicalization of religion and Islam in this case. Is in the cases where religion might contradict that legitimacy, which in the Middle East does not come from a democratic elections, the religion become the enemy of the government, and the government at that stage then try to kind of like take it from the social life and the political life of that country. And we've seen attempts even to the extent that religious education is either minimized or removed from like the school system, with replacements of other topics. So I would say, just in summary response to the questions, one is that the governments depoliticalized, or I wouldn't say that, because the government actually are the one who politicalized religion. But in the cases where religion is not in their favor, there is different methodology they use in order to kind of like weaken that. So one is by strengthening one single voice for religion in certain official institution, to undermine the ability of religious scholars who goes against it or have different views to access media and exist in like peace. And three, also go through, try to weaken education institutions that provide religious education. Thank you.
So I would not repeat the answers, and this is just to know, for you to know that this speech is being recorded, and I will post the record to YouTube, and then we can share the ideas that we are discussing here to others so that people understand. Well, thank you, brothers. Okay, and one more questions from student here. So raise his hand. Okay, come up and post your questions.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yazid Imam Bustami. I'm from Islamic State of Pontianak, Religious Studies Department. My question is, lately we hear the conflict in Afghanistan. My question, what's your opinion about the Afghanistan conflict in the Middle East? Could the Islamic politicization make it clear, and if it did, and if it worked, when? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Afghanistan. Okay, well, applause to Yazid. Yeah, his name is Yazid from IAIN Pontianak, from this institution. Did you get the questions, brother, about Afghanistan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Also, Dr. Haidnan, I think, I'm sorry if I pronounced the name, has his hands up. So actually, it's the other way around. The way that I see it is, religion is used heavily now in conflicts in either Afghanistan or even in the Middle East. And as a result, that's transformed these conflicts from political governance competition conflicts to more deadly conflicts. I remember in 2007, one of the things I was doing is I did a comparison between coexisting between Sunni and Shiite in Iraq, and compare it to Yemen. And looking at Yemen as an example of coexisting, where the two groups exist with no violence, no problems. Unfortunately, that changed because more and more religion has been utilized, and those small differences between the different schools of thoughts are magnified and utilized and pushed through the media to the extent that it justify killing each other. So I would say that the problem in the Middle East is actually that religion is misused to empower and fuel conflict. That exists in Afghanistan. That exists in the Middle East. And in Afghanistan, although the conflict, if you look at it, it's can be seen as not among Muslims themselves or within the Islamic nation, but it's include lots of elements and lots of interpretation of religion to be used to fuel that's conflict. And in the Middle East, in most of the conflict are actually intra-Islamic. And in the intra-Islamic conflicts, the differences between the different interpretations of Islam and how Islam looks at who has the legitimacy to govern has been like the tip of the sword that actually people are fighting with. Thank you.
Well, it's been very deep and very heavy discussion, actually, talking about religions, as we find everywhere in this globe about the use of religions in conflicts. Actually, the role of religion in conflicts that happening in the societies, and this is very heavy topic and very interesting topic, actually, because we have it. It is around us, and it is important to speak and to to discuss about that, and because the issue is growing as well, so it's not stuck, it's not the state issue, but also dynamic issues. So this dynamic issue will grow and will move, will change every time in every conditions actually. And thank you so much, Brother Shoqi, to brought up this issue, and it's very interesting. And some students are still raising hands, but I think the time is up actually. We have very limited time, and Brother Shoqi is also busy as well there. But then we have Zuhur time here, Brother Shoqi. And again, thank you so much. And we will meet again maybe in some other occasions. We will invite you again so that we can have more discussions. So students, if you still have questions, so you may give me the questions, and I will pass on the questions to Professor Shoqi Al-Maktari, and then the answers I can also give it to you again. And if you like, you also may directly contact Professor Shoqi Al-Maktari. Thank you so much, Brother Shoqi, and we give applause to this speech. Very good session. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Brother Shoqi. Alhamdulillah, and everyone, this is the end of our session. And Alhamdulillah, inshallah, it is barakah for us. And then we hope that Allah bless us for everything that we do. And we end up our meeting, our session, by reciting Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Again, thank you so much, Professor Shoqi Al-Maktari. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, everyone in the Zoom meeting. And we will meet again at 2:30. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.